Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. We got a little bit of a different setup going on today because we have the Banshee pulled into the garage bay. So I kind of slid everything over and we'll just film it right here. So as you can see, our bench is looking pretty busy right now. There's a couple odds and ends that I want to take care of today. We're getting ready to do plug chops. I know this is a really exciting time. The Banshee is finally running and we're about to get our first ride in. So the plan is to do plug chops this Sunday. I'm going to be doing it with a special guest. Most of you guys probably know who it is. You're going to have to hang around and see. Not saying any names, but what we have out here is what I want to work on today. So I'm just going to start from one side to the other. We'll start over here on the left or your right side. I got a bunch of BR8 ES spark plugs. That's going to be for our plug chops this Sunday. I'm hoping that 8 will be enough. Who knows though? The way I screw up, I might need like 32. And I also have our aluminum airbox here. If you guys watched the last video, this airbox does not quite fit. So I'm going to see if I can mock it up correctly and then bring this into work tomorrow and chop the pipes off so that this fits appropriately. And also, guys, I now have the ability to possibly make a new aluminum box. So that's probably going to be a future project, which should be pretty cool. Now, moving on down the line, I do have our 34mm replica carburetors here. I will be bringing them out this Sunday for the plug chops. I'm hoping that my jets come in for these. I do have my genuine jets for the key-ins. Those are all good to go. We got plenty of jets to test out, so I'm hoping that the jets come in for these so we can test these out as well and see how these perform. And then right here, this goes with my airbox. These are my bigger boots to fit with the 35mm carburetor. I also have a compression tester out. I figure we're going to be changing out our gas lines today because I put some chintzy ones on there for the last video. Since we're going to have the gas tank removed and really easy access to the spark plug holes, might as well do a compression test and see where we're at. Plus, I've already done our heat cycles, so those rings have had a chance to heat up and seat, so we should have an accurate compression rating. Now, moving on down the line, this is our actual fuel line that we're going to be using. Like I said last time, we used really chintzy stuff. This stuff is really nice, and it's going to go with the green and blue combo. By the way, guys, I appreciate all your comments on my YouTube page and on my Instagram page, going back and forth. It seemed like it was pretty even between going with green or blue. So I'm going to leave it the way it is and leave one side green and one side blue, and I think that looks pretty cool. Now, moving on down the line here, we have a new sprocket for the rear. We're going to throw that on. The other one's kind of toasted. Also, I want to thank Blake from DBC Racing for hooking me up with that. I also got a Pro Taper Gold Series chain. It's the MXR, I think it's called. XRC. This is actually, I think it's made for cross country. It's a little bit more durable and has a little bit higher of a tension or tensile rate than the motocross chain. So I wanted to go with a little bit higher of a rating because, you know, this bike's going to be making a little bit more horsepower than your typical 450 or motocross bike. And then, of course, moving down the line a little bit further, we got our DRW case saver, which we'll be able to put on once we put our chain on, and our stator cover, of course, and our shifter. And if we can get to it today, I'd like to fit up our plastics, cut out our section where our SLP pipes are so that they're not bumping in and melting our plastics, and then hopefully mount everything into place. I just want to make sure that it's still going to be easy to access our carbs. If it's going to be difficult, I might not put all the plastics on because I want it to be easy to do plug chops and to switch out our jets. Okay, so let's jump into it. Let's put the parts on that we know are going to be staying on the quad. Let's put the new rear sprocket on, put our gold chain on, our sprocket guard and case saver, and of course our stator cover, our shifter, all that stuff, so the engine will finally be complete. Actually, guys, before I get to doing our sprocket and everything, I want to run the gas out of the carburetors because we're going to be doing a little bit of gas line changing. And that way, if I do it now before we do the sprockets and everything, it'll have a chance to cool off before we get to doing our compression test and measuring up our pipes and cutting our plastics, and just because I want to. Alright, well now we know our pingle valve works, and it's nice and smoky in the garage. Also, guys, I want to remind you that this is the gas that's a little bit heavy on oil because I wanted to keep it that way for the initial break-in, keep things nice and lubricated. Now to replace our rear sprocket, we need to remove the rear wheel. So we're going to go ahead and break our nuts loose, we'll jack it up, take off the wheel, and then we'll be able to get to our sprocket. Wow, that's unexpected. Well, this is interesting. This is the kind of stuff you run into with an old quad. I remember when I did these hubs, these studs were starting to get worn and they were spinning a little bit. You can see how worn they are up here. And probably even the casting for this hub is worn out. But these are starting to spin really easy. I can probably get away with these one more time because once those lug nuts get pulled in tight, they stop spinning. But I should probably get new studs and probably just whole new hub assemblies in the future. All right, so back to the sprocket. First thing we got to do is take off these lock washer or lock ring things. These help retain these nuts here and they stop them from backing off. So I'm just going to bend these tabs down and then we can go ahead and remove our sprocket. All right, so let's check out what we got here. We are going to be going from this JT 45 tooth rear sprocket to this primary drive 40 tooth sprocket. So going down to 40 teeth should help keep the front end down a little bit because this is going to be a crazy quad. We're running a stock length swing arm with a 4mm 421, 85 horsepower. It's going to be an animal. So this should help at least maintain a little bit of front end stability. So I'm going to go ahead and throw this thing on. This is a quality sprocket because it says quality right on the package. But seriously, Primary Drive does make good sprockets, and I want to give Blake from DBC Racing a shout out, a good thumbs up for hooking me up with this sprocket. Now that we have easy access to our sprockets, I'm going to go ahead and lay on our brand new Pro Taper XRC chain and get ready to cut it to the proper length. Okay, now that we've got our chain adjusters to the most inward position, we'll go ahead and measure up this chain and see where we need to cut it. And it looks like right there is where we'll need to cut it. Now we'll put our master link on. Now we will tighten up our chain. Now we'll tighten this top bolt down to 84 foot-pounds of torque. And we'll go to 46 on the bottom. All right, so there is our Pro Taper 520 XRC chain. The reason I went with Pro Taper this time is because last time we used the Renthal R4 on the Raptor 700, and that chain was great so far. So I wanted to try something different because I like to compare and contrast. So we'll see how this Pro Taper holds up to the Renthal R4. Now let's see if I can get this wheel to tighten up just one more time with these lousy studs. Pretty hack. They seem to hold when you're tightening it up. They don't want to spin, but when you take them off is when they want to spin. So for this time around, it'll be all right. But the next time I take those hubs off, I'm replacing those studs. Now I'll put some blue Loctite on our sprocket bolt and tighten that down. Now these foot pegs are in the way of getting on our case saver and our shifter. So I'm going to go ahead and pull these two 14mm bolts out, and that should give us the clearance to get on those parts. All right, now that we got our Nerf bars out of the way, let's see if we can get our DRW case saver on. Yeah, that's a tight fit. Now we can go ahead and get on our side cover. Now we put our shifter on. Now we'll put our foot peg bolts back in. All right, now let's take the gas tank off and see what we got going on. Oh yeah, way rich. You can see there's oil all the way up the threads. Definitely way too rich. Not just in the jet, but the premix was way too rich. Now that's all right. You know, for that initial startup, it's good to have a little bit of extra lube in there. It's not going to hurt anything. So I'm going to mark this plug, and we'll pull the other one out and see what that looks like. And this one looks similar, not quite as rich. But I don't see any signs of detonation, which is good. Now keep in mind, there's really no time on these. I did 3 15-minute heat cycles, a couple revs, but I haven't ridden the quad yet. Now I just went and wiped this plug off, and you can see it basically looks new now. But when you are reading your plug, if you have that oil buildup like that, your plug's wet, that's a sign that your mixture is a little too heavy. Now, I would look at this flat surface of the ring to check for jetting. Of course, there wasn't really enough time on the bike, and we didn't actually ride it to be able to tell the jetting yet. That's what we're going to be doing this weekend with plug chops. But when you have that buildup of oil, like on this plug, that's a sign that your mixture is too rich. So we're going to lean it out with some 40-1 from DBC Racing. All right, now for the fun part. Let's see what kind of compression she's making. So it's about right where I expected it to be. It's just over 140 PSI. So keep in mind, guys, this is not a high compression build. We have 24cc domes in there. It's made to run on pump gas. So that's right about where it should be. All right, let's check out the other side. All right, so you can see the left cylinder has pretty much the exact same compression. So we are good to go. All right, now I can put our new fuel lines on and put the gas tank back on. Now what I want to do is take my plastics and set them in place to see exactly where these pipes are going to be rubbing so that we can cut our plastics so that they don't melt away. Now you can see right here, these SLP pipes are hitting the plastics. You can actually see where the FMF pipes were melting away the plastics. So I want to get rid of that because I think that's a lousy look, but I do want to keep our full fenders. So what I'm going to do is mark right here, and we'll set an area to cut out. And how I'm going to do that is with one of these fender brackets, and we'll measure how far the holes are apart and how much we need to take out. So this is the hole and bracket I was talking about. Now if I make it so that it's just barely touching, not putting any pressure to bend the plastic. Let's see. From the edge to edge, about 5/8 of an inch. So if we add one more 1/2 inch, we're at 1 1/8 inches. So right about there is where we need the cut to be at its biggest point. Now I'm going to do my best to kind of match the contour of this pipe. Kind of weird, but this side the pipe actually fits and it doesn't rub at all. So I think what I'm going to do though is to match the other side. I'm going to cut this out just slightly, and I want to get rid of this burn mark. So I might come to about here. Alright, so I have these set up on 2 5-gallon buckets. Now I'm a fan of full cut fenders, so we're going to do everything we can to maintain that. So I'm going to use this Dremel here to cut out that pipe. Now some of you may be asking why I don't just come straight down to make these look really OEM. Well, I think that's going to look kind of cool matching the contour of the pipe, so that's why we're going to do it that way. Alright, I think that looks pretty good. Once all these are bolted up and lined up, that's what it's going to look like. Here's the passenger side. Passenger side, you know what I mean. Okay, now that the front plastics are mounted, I want to try to get this airbox in. I know I was controversial on whether or not to mount this thing, but we're going to try to run it. You can see the front is slightly slanted down now, and that's because I took this into work and I chopped it at an angle and then welded on 2 more pieces of straight aluminum. You can actually see the seam in there. And the reason I did that is because if this was on a slant, the boot wouldn't sit flush. But with this, that little turn down, now the boot sits flush on the inside and it's turned down just slightly. That should make it made up with the carbs nicely. I know it's not the perfect job down here, but all the imperfections get covered up by this boot. It's a pretty big sleeve that covers it, so I don't think we'll have any air leaks or anything like that. So let's throw it on the quad and we'll see if it fits. Oh, man. I got it to fit. Not gonna lie, I'm like borderline about to cry right now. This did not go in very easily. And it's about 1 o'clock in the morning right now, Friday night, and I really just don't feel like doing this right now. But we got it in. Oh, there it is. All together, looking crispy. Got that DRW case saver on there. Finally have our stator cover on. Cut these plastics. Saving the full fenders. Save the full fenders. Tires are still looking good. Seat's got some stains on it. Got that brand new Pro Taper chain. New 40-tooth sprocket. Starting to get excited, guys. Starting line products. Gonna be riding this thing pretty soon. Oh yeah. Man, is that beautiful. Got my lines running up there. Blue versus green. Yeah, it's coming out nice. And we also got some of this, man. Some DBC Racing. 40-1. Just some small engine fuel. Nothing crazy. But it's definitely better than pump gas. 94 octane. Keep in mind this motor is built for pump gas. So it's not really made for high octane gas. So that 94 is going to be perfect. All right, guys, so I'm going to call it there for this video. It's starting to get late right now, and we have everything done that we need to for our plug chops. That's the most important thing. And of course, we saved our front fenders. So all that's left to do at this point is tuning up the quad, putting on the stickers, and then we're done. As always, remember to check me out on Instagram. It's MichaelSabo350. And I also wanted to make special mention to my girlfriend. She recently visited the Cayman Islands, and she made a really nice video and put it on YouTube. There's really great scenery. You can see the crystal blue waters and some really cool stuff out there. If you guys want to check it out, her channel is Ashley Van Blunk. You can see it's the only video that she has posted up there. Make sure to give her a comment and like, and give her a subscribe if you enjoy the content. So for now, guys, I'm going to call it here. I'm falling asleep. I will see you guys in the next video. I hope you had a great week and you have a good weekend too.